Just 22 miles off the coast of Southern California lives this dreamy island where old Hollywood royalty would go to escape. And even a young Marilyn Monroe lived here for a period of time, although back then she was known as Norma Jean. But is it a must-see destination, and is it disability friendly? Hi, I'm Kendall, your travel accessibility advisor, and in this video I'm going to be talking about all the things I wish I knew before I went to Catalina Island so that you can make the best informed decision on whether or not Catalina Island deserves a spot on your Southern California to-do list. Let's get into the video. Let's start with how you're actually going to get to Catalina, because there's no bridge. Most people arrive to Catalina by boat, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Several ferry lines run to Avalon from different mainland ports, but not every mainland port has the same schedule. Long Beach typically has the earliest times to leave the mainland and the latest times to leave Avalon. And so if you're having a day trip to Avalon, the most bang for your buck is going to be either at the Long Beach Terminal Ferry or the San Pedro Terminal Ferry. You could also book your ticket through San Pedro. They have very similar departure from the mainland times, but I do prefer the Long Beach Terminal better from an accessibility standpoint, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. Every mainland port has a terminal. You'll scan your ticket and you'll be directed towards your ferry. But before you go on the ferry, it is really important that you use the restroom. The restrooms at the terminals are nice and cleaned and stocked with toilet paper, something that you will find is not always available at every public Catalina Island restroom. And also, unfortunately, not every Catalina Island ferry has a wheelchair accessible bathroom. Now here's the good news if you're a person with a disability. You get priority boarding. You and your companion get to board first, and you're the last two off. It gives the crew enough time to help assist you get on and off the boat. And that is something that you're most likely going to need when you are entering and exiting the boat. You will notice that there are ramps that are on each ferry, but the ramp is not bolted down to the dock, and as a result, the ramp sways with the ocean. And so someone will be supporting you from behind just to make sure you don't tip over. Now, about your wheelchair or mobility device. There are larger spaces where you can place your wheelchair and then transfer onto your seat. You can also stay in your wheelchair, but there's no designated wheelchair spots. This isn't a city bus where there's chairs and then tie-down stations for you to place your wheelchair. Unfortunately, there's none of that. There's just somewhat wider spaces that you'll be told to park in, and you won't have anything tying yourself down to the boats. So those are just some things to keep in mind if you're thinking about transferring or staying in your wheelchair while you're on the ferry. In my experience, the Catalina Express from Long Beach is the most accessible option. The boat is wider, the ramps are smoother, and the big one, there's a wheelchair accessible bathroom like mentioned before. And again, I can't stress this enough, not every Catalina ferry can say that. Now talking about Catalina Island itself. Here's what makes Avalon a dream for wheelchair users. It's a walkable city and everything is close and nearby. The streets are nicely paved, and so while it kind of looks like cobblestones, it doesn't have that jolt that cobblestones give. Avalon is a walkable city because nearly 90% of Catalina Island is protected land, which means the town can't sprawl. All the shops, restaurants, and hotels are packed next to each other neatly on smooth pathways. Rolling it from one spot to the next usually only takes 10 minutes or less. And that's a game changer because you're not stuck relying on taxis to take you from one place to another. You can book taxis at the Avalon terminal, but it's not a requirement. And while you're here, you can feed the Garibaldi fish, which is the state-recognized fish of California. Fish food here costs 25 cents per little kibble thing, and so a better deal is to get to the Vaughn's marketplace and just buy a whole bag of Vaughn's fish food that you can feed it to the Garibaldi fish, because it's just more economical. It's only a few dollars compared to paying 25 cents for each little nugget of fish food. Watch as the Garibaldi spring from their rocks, desperately trying to grab the fish food. They will become emotionally attached to you, just an FYI. But they're so cute and adorable, and they're the official California state fish. I'll be real with you, because that's what this channel is all about. While the downtown Avalon area is walkable and rollable, it's a wheelchair user's paradise, the activity options for wheelchair users are limited. So let's talk about what genuinely works. The Catalina Casino. Plot twist, it's not a gambling casino at all. It's an entertainment venue. The bottom floor is accessible and it shows reruns of classic movies. Just know that showtimes are usually limited to weekend nights, so plan around that if that is something you're interested in. If you want to go to the beach, your best spot is the beach club that is right next to the casino. The other beaches have stairs and there's not much sand to sprawl out in anyway. Heads up, this one does cost money to enter. The prices are steep. And here's the catch that I didn't realize. You're going to have to transfer from your mobility device on to your lounge or cabana. There's no beach wheelchair of any kind, so you're just going to have the ability to transfer onto the sand and safely get on to the lounge or cabana. But currently you're looking at $190 for the Chase lounge chairs and $850 for the cabana. Oof. You know what doesn't cost $850? Hitting that like and subscribe button. And so if you've learned just one interesting thing or one thing that has really helped you, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps me grow this channel. And there is one more thing. Yes, one more thing. The entry to the ocean is surrounded by rocks. There's no other way to say it. The rocks are thick and sharp, and so if you want to go into the water, just bring water shoes with you to avoid any tripping or falling, and just be extra cautious when you're entering in the water. So honestly, if you're a wheelchair user and you're asking yourself where are the best beaches in Southern California, Catalina would be at the bottom of my list. Personally, you would be better off spending time at Dana Point, which doubles as one of the mainland Catalina departure docks, or one city over at Laguna Beach, where you can actually get into the sand using their new track chair that someone donated them. And hey, would you look at that? I just made a whole video about it. And I'm curious, for those of you who live in Southern California, what is your favorite beach and why? Leave it down in the comments below and we can help each other plan our perfect California trip. And for those of you who are able to transfer, I highly recommend the Catalina Bison Tour by the Catalina Island Company. If you call ahead of time and say that you're a wheelchair user, they'll most likely tell you that they can store it inside the ticket booth. And so you don't have to worry about it getting stolen or damaged, and you can just enjoy the ride. Getting onto the ride itself, there was a step stool for me to step onto, and there was handlebars for me to grab on. It was a very easy, simple process.
That's a male buffalo. Bison. Let me see. Woo! Yep, it's a male. You know how you can tell? How? He's all by himself. Oh, that's the funny. Male bison buffalo hang out by themselves. Now the females hang on the herd, and they're being protected by a big alpha male. And he's a big bully buffalo. He goes around pushing everybody around. And so these guys probably got tired of him pushing around, and he said, man, I'm going to go in here and hang out by myself. What's he can do? Because there is nothing or no one on the island to harm him They are the kings of the island.
On this tour, you will dig into Catalina's history and geology. This scenery is genuinely stunning. You'll stroll down residential neighborhoods, go to the coastline, and up to the outback of the Avalon Mountains. Here are some of my favorite facts that I learned on the tour. William Wrigley Jr. bought Catalina Island in 1919 for around $3 million. And he was able to buy it because he earned money being the inventor of chewing gum. But of all things, chewing gum. Good for him. Also, the bison are not native. The popular folktale is that around 14 bison were imported from the mainland in 1924 to film a silent western movie called The Vanishing American. But surprisingly, there's no bison featured in that film. These bison are shorter than mainland bison, like the ones in Yellowstone, California. And they're herbivores, grazing on island grass. And because they are herbivores and their dietary restrictions of being on Catalina Island, that leads to their short stature. And lastly, while the island serves bison burgers, the bison meat is actually imported from Montana. All in all, Catalina Island is a lovely coastal escape from Los Angeles. Downtown Avalon area is a breeze to roll through. It looks like something straight out of a fairy tale. And it's a wonderful place just to park yourself and to watch the world go by. But let's keep it honest, the way we always do here. From an accessible travel standpoint, Catalina comes with some real challenges. This isn't a destination where everything is accessible. Here's my take though. That doesn't mean you should skip it. It means that you should just go prepared. Know which ferry to book, know what is doable before you arrive, and set your expectations the right way. And Catalina becomes a genuinely charming day trip weekend getaway. Because if there's one thing this channel believes in, it's that the door is wider than you think. Sometimes you just need to know where the handle is. And by setting your expectations, Catalina becomes a genuinely charming day trip or weekend getaway. And that's a wrap for this video. If you want to hang out with me some more, here are some video suggestions. I recently went on a beach in a wheelchair that was designed to go on the beach, and I would highly recommend you check that out. I hope to see you soon, but until next time, enjoy your journey, traveler.